Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Continuing on with Synchro focused kind of pile decks, especially ones where I get to use my new Stardust Dragon here. We're coming back to Fiend Sprite Synchro. This is actually a deck that I've talked about in the past, right when Nightmare Throne very first came out. And just as I did in that last video, gotta give a huge shout out to patron Snan, who actually suggested this video, or this deck rather, through one of our coaching sessions. This is actually how I found out about it. So it was really cool, and this actually often happens where not only am I like helping, you know, the people I'm coaching, but they're also introducing new ideas to me as well, which is always cool. If you're interested in that, by the way, or in the Patreon in general, check out the link in the description below. There's a link over there to the Patreon. Even if you're not interested in the coaching tier, there's a Master Duelist tier, which is, you know, much less. It's only $5 per month. You get access to full-length videos every single day over on the Patreon. It's like a second YouTube channel with content that I don't post over here on YouTube. Usually I'm talking about upcoming OCG or TCG cards. We're looking at OCG, TCG meta. We're watching duel lives. You get to see games that I play that I don't get to show here on YouTube just because of like time or, you know, whatever. But so yeah, definitely if you are interested, I urge you to check that out. Again, Patreon link in the description below, patreon.com/Hexlex. But anyway, so Fiend Sprite Synchro. The list is pretty much the same as the last time around, and for those of you who've seen Spright Synchro, you you kind of know what this is all about, right? Basically, we're looking to not only end on a regular Sprite board of something like Elf, IP, and some combination of Red and Carrot, but with the Synchro package here, we can also add Baron de Fleur and Bestial Dissipator, two incredibly powerful negate effects to that same end board as well. For pretty much every Spright Synchro deck, including this one, the main combo line involves opening Assault Synchron as well as two level 2 non-tuners. If you have two level 2 non-tuners, right, with Assault Synchron, you can use Assault Synchron plus one of them to go into Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch bump the level up to 6. Sync Cupid Pitch with the other one to go for Assault Stardust. Bring back the Synchron, and then Cupid Pitch also gets to add Caligo Claw Crow. That's one of the biggest questions I always get asked when it comes to these Spright Synchro decks is, why Caligo Claw Crow? It's the most random extender ever. Well, it's because it's got 600 defense, so that means it can be searched by the Cupid Pitch. I'd go into further, like, explaining the turn 1 combo line, but I do actually have a game, the first replay we're going to watch, where I pull it off, so I'll go into more detail there to show you exactly how the deck all works together. But part of it does involve dumping the Plague Spreader with Sprint, and a huge shout out to Snan for the Plague Spreader tech, because I was kind of kicking around the idea of using Nightmare Throne for 2 Beckoning Beasts plus Assault Synchron to make Synchro plays, but Snan was the one who very much showed me Plague Spreader. Well, of course, I'd seen the card Plague Spreader Zombie before. I actually remember when this card first came out, and it was definitely like one of, if not the best tuner in the game. But yeah, when Plague Spreader Zombie is dumped into the graveyard, you can bring it back by stacking a card from your hand on top of your deck. It does get banished, but we do actually have multiple ways to circumvent this. And funnily enough, this is not, because this is an older Yu-Gi-Oh card, it's not once per turn at all, right? Like back in the day when this got banished when it left the field, that usually effectively made it once per turn, right? Unless you were going really out of your way to play a tech like Escape from the Dark Dimension just to bring it back. But in this deck, we actually have multiple ways to continue to cycle the Plague Spreader into the graveyard. Bestial Dissipator can pull it out of the banish pile after you synchro with it, letting you synchro again, and then after which it will go to the graveyard to use the effect again. We can also use the Plague Spreader as an Xyz material to make Gigantic Spright, because as we all know, Xyz materials are not considered on the field, therefore the Plague Spreader, which would normally banish when it leaves the field, actually will go to the graveyard if it's detached from the Gigantic, because again, doesn't actually count itself as being on the field. So that's pretty nice. Let's see here, what else do we have? Oh, of course, Capshell is actually another level 2 Fiend with 0 attack and defense. This is pretty much here in case you open Beckoning Beast plus Nightmare Throne. That way, instead of going for the, you know, another Beckoning Beast, which doesn't really do much off the Nightmare Throne, you can instead go for Capshell. And this will get you an extra draw when used as a material for a summon, including Synchro, actually. So this does actually work with our Synchro plays, too, which is very nice. Let's see, changes I've made to the main deck. We were on 2 red and 2 carrot before, but I cut them for a couple of hand traps. I think we were also on 3 imperm, but after cutting these 2, I decided to split the difference on 2 imperm, 2 Veiler. I actually really like doing that lately for multiple reasons, one of which is cross that designator, but also, like, especially if you're like drawing during your opponent's turn under max C, there are just some situations where Veiler actually ends up being better than the imperm, right? Again, drawing for this deck, in most decks, drawing under max C would be the big one. But you know, there are other decks that also draw during the opponent's turn for other means, like in Math Mech, right? Like we play Heat Soul, so we focus more on Veilers than imperms for that reason. Same with like Pearly. I would max out on Veilers before going into imperms and Pearly, because you draw during your opponent's standby phase with the Ep-Pearly and X-Pearly Noir, you know, so on and so forth. So yeah, so I decided to just kind of split the difference in the hand traps there. Let's see, for the extra deck, I made an update as well. Oh yeah, we were on Nightmare Unicorn, but I just never found myself going into it, so I decided to put Almirage in the extra deck, which might seem like a really weird inclusion, but what Almirage does is it actually makes opening a 1-card combo line, not into your full Synchro plays, but if nothing else, into Spright plays, right? Because you can activate opening, add a Beckoning Beast, normal Beckoning Beast, add another opening, link the Beckoning Beast into the Almirage, then opening, pitch the other opening you added, bring back Beckoning Beast, and then you can link those 2 into Elf, or even like Sprint if you really wanted to. If we were on like Hero Kit or Nimbles, I might be more inclined to go into Sprint in that kind of a situation, but here we're literally only using Sprint to dump Plague Spreader zombies, so probably just better to go into Elf. Then Elf can bring back the Beckoning Beast, make it gigantic, boom, you've got plays. So same principle as why we play Almirage in our pure Spright extra deck, right? And that's really one of the cool things about this and a lot of other Spright variants, is that there's a lot of times where you'll get disrupted, you don't get to do your full turn 1 combo. Of course, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, that's going to happen, your opponent will have hand traps, but there are a lot of times where even if you don't get the full combo, you can simply pivot into a Spright board, which is still, of course, quite solid. So alright, anything else I have to say about the list? I don't think there is especially, so, especially given that we've already covered this deck once before, I think I'm just going to go ahead and move over to our replays. I already talked about kind of the weird cards, right? Yeah, I talked about all those, so yeah, let's go ahead and see some of these replays. So like I said, for this first game, I'm going to show you the full turn 1 combo line, and we actually even get to pull it off against Stun, which is fantastic, so hell yeah, let's see what we got here. All right, we're going to be taking the first turn, and in order to do full turn 1 combo, what you need to open with, it is actually a 2-card combo. You need access to the Assault Synchron, we have it via tuning. You also need access to the Dark Beckoning Beast, which we have via Nightmare Throne. So going to lead by activating the Nightmare Throne. We'll use the effect to add the Dark Beckoning Beast. One really fun part about playing this deck is that you can often trick your opponent into thinking that you're playing Yuba with your opening plays, and then they you know, they throw out Veiler, Ash, or Imperm, whatever, and then you're like, cool, special summon a Spright monster. It's good. Alright, so we're going for a 2 Beckoning Beast here, and I'm going to special that Assault Synchron that I added. As mentioned in the profile, we're going to sync Assault Synchron with the Dark Beckoning Beast in order to summon out our Cupid Pitch. From here, Cupid Pitch can bump up its own level and then sync with the Dark Beckoning Beast. 6 plus 2 is 8. There's Excel Stardust. Cupid Pitch and Excel Stardust both activate. Cupid Pitch is mandatory, so it does always have to be Chain Link 1 there. Otherwise, I might do it the other way around to chain block against Gamma, but adding that Caligo Claw Crow, which we're going to special summon. I do want to note that the Spright Red is not part of the normal combo line. I just opened it here, so I threw it onto the board just to have a little bit of monster effect protection if I needed it, but you don't have to have the Spright Red here, as I'm going to demonstrate. So you might think, like, after bringing back the Assault Synchron that we're going to Synchro summon, but that's actually not the case. We're actually going to link the Assault Synchron and the Caligo Claw Crow into the Spright Sprint, which will then activate to dump the Plague Spreader. Now I'm going to use Plague Spreader's effect, stack a card, and bring that back. So the reason that we do it this way, right, because that might seem a bit convoluted as a way of setting up another level 2 tune when we already had one, but we are actually going to make use of this second effect of Assault Synchron, right? We're going to tribute our Excel Stardust Dragon. The thing about Assault Synchron is that this card needs to already be in the graveyard in order for the second effect to be able to activate. So, let's say I had, you know, activated an Excel Stardust effect, tribute it to Special Stardust, and sync it with an on-field Assault Synchron to make a level 10 Synchro. I don't get to activate Assault Synchron's effect because it was on the field at the time when the Excel Stardust was tributed. So, that's why we do it this way. So now I'll tribute Excel Stardust, bringing out regular Stardust Dragon. And then now we can sync Plague plus Stardust Dragon, and we're going to make Bestial Dissipator first, actually. Alright, and then now the Assault Synchron gets to activate, bringing back the Excel Stardust, and then we're also going to use Bestial Dissipator, as I mentioned again before, to pull that Plague Spreader out of the Banish pile. Sync with it, Plague Spreader goes back into the yard. We're then going to make the Baron de Fleur. Alright, now that we have done all of the big synchroing we want to, we can go into even more, or we can go into our Spright board now. We can 2-lock ourselves and be fine. So here I'm going to stack with Plague Spreader again to bring it back and then overlay. But it is also worth noting that you could also use the opening of the Spirit Gates to bring back a Dark Beckoning Beast if for whatever reason you'd rather have that card in your graveyard than on top of your deck. If it's something that's good in the graveyard, or if you don't want to draw it or whatever, you know, so. Alright, Sprint plus Plague. As I mentioned before, they're going to go into the Gigantic. Got a Gigantic F for the blue, blue F for Jet. Now, just because I'm full on monster spaces, I'll link off the Gigantic and blue now for the Elf. Now I can special Jet because I still have the red in play. If we didn't have red in play, again, you could just special Jet here and not have to worry about it. I'm going to revive with Elf, link off the revived monster with Jet in order to make IP Masquerena, and then now I can use this starter that I searched off Jet to grab Sprite Carrot. And there you go. That's our turn 1 end board. Again, the Sprite Red is opened, so it's technically not always going to be here, but I think even without the red, you have to consider that 3 negates plus IP plus Elf is quite the solid end board. Now, granted, it does just lose to, like, Dark Ruler No More, but Dark Ruler No More is far from a popular tech in Best of 1 ranked ladder, so you're generally pretty safe. Alright, going into our opponent's turn here, they're going to lead with Extrav for 1, which I was very confused by. This had to have been a misclick. Like, especially because, like, we know, or I know, that it's stun. Like, there's no reason to literally ever, in any deck, for any reason ever, Extrav for only 3 to draw 1 card. So I believe this was a misclick, so. Alright, Jowgen F is going to attempt to activate here. I'm going to use Sprite Red tributing IP. In hindsight, I think I should have actually tributed Elf. Because what I could have done is I could have used, like, I don't think I actually need the target protection that bad against stun. And I could have gone IP plus one of my Sprite monsters into SP to banish a face down, like, during the end of the main. But regardless, I do want to use red, and I specifically want to tribute a Link 2 monster. That way the Jowgen will not only be negated, but also destroyed. Not that I really think I'm going to need it, you know. I'm going to really need to play through it that badly, but, like, I'm pretty sure I could just battle over it for lethal, but I also didn't want my opponents to drop, like, a Moon Mirror Shield and have, like, that much more complication to have to deal with, so I figured I'd just do it this way, and sure enough, the opponent is not able to play through our massive board of negates, and that is going to do it. So yeah, like I said, that's a pretty ideal turn 1. I gotta be honest with you though, not a lot of turn 1s actually play out this way. Your opponent will likely either concede in the middle of your turn 1 combo, or you'll get disrupted, at which way you can still end on a Sprite board. I'm not saying that you're not going to get wins, but the majority of the wins I got while playing this deck was just through making regular Sprite stuff. However, I will say it is very, very fun to add the Synchro stuff. It's very, very fun. I love it. So good. All right, let's check out the next game here. Okay, this one, I don't remember off the top of my head. I know what our last opponent is playing, but this one I don't quite recall. I do recall that this is a game where we are going to have to use more of the Sprite side of our deck than the Synchro side, but... Oh yeah, and here it's because we don't open a tuner. Oh, the previous build played, in addition to 3 tuning, it actually also played Ready, Set, Duel as a 4th way to search Assault Synchron, kind of for this reason. I will say, as much as I do love Sprite Synchro, I mean, I think you all know that by now, that I am in love with this particular variant of Sprite. It just really, ultimately, is not optimal. Again, I love this deck, but pure Spright really is just better, just because of, again, how often you are going to end up making pure Spright plays anyway. However, as I've said many times, a deck does not need to be optimal to be good. Certainly, we see decks topping tournaments and in Master all the time that are doing, like, fun, crazy things that, again, aren't optimal, but are just fun. And, you know, it's funny, like, this is something that I encounter a lot. Whenever I have, like, a homebrew deck or, like, a lower, like, power level deck that I play on the channel. Well, I don't know, sometimes it just feels like you can't win, right? Like, sometimes I'll show a deck like this and people will be like, this is so uncompetitive, why wouldn't you just play pure Spright? But then when I play, like, U-Bell or Fire King Snake Eye for the channel, people are like, God, you always play these meta decks, such a meta sheep, and it's like, I don't know, to me I think that just, like, is the epitome of the Yu-Gi-Oh community. They'll always just complain. What can you do? Anyway, so I'm gonna set the starter here because I already used the starter to kind of get my plays going. So, like, I don't know, ending on only Elf IP is obviously not ideal, even for a pure Spright deck. But given that our opponent had to basically start with two less, not basically, they did start with two less cards, I'm actually fairly okay with that. Of course, it's worth noting that because I call-byed Max C, I will not be able to use the one in my hand during this turn. However, between the Elf IP and then the face down, I should be good to go here. So we're gonna Pros for 6, revealing, it's Exo, right? So revealing some Exo monsters, the Returnia, Call-by, the Aratama, and the VODS. They actually end up taking the VODS here, which I thought was kind of interesting. So VODS is the one that says, wait, did they take VODS? No, they took Returnia, right? Yeah, they added Returnia. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so Returnia is the one that banishes if they, or exceeds if they control Exo Sister monsters. So this is one of those situations where I'm kind of using the little bits of information my opponent is giving me to decide how I play. Not just the fact that, oh, I saw Exo cards, I know they're on Exo, but specifically they added Returnia, which means they probably already have plays in hand, which means my focus on disrupting my opponent here should be to keep their Exo monsters off their field, right? That way they can not only not make plays, but also this Returnia will be dead. So that's a very, very important thing to think about as your opponent's showing you cards and you're trying to figure out how you're going to make your plays, right? So that's why I'm elfing for blue now, or I'm trying to anyway, is that I want to be able to go into SP at a moment's notice, preferably without using my Spright Elf, right? So as I go to summon the Sakitama here, I'm going to chain my starter. This is actually one of the most phenomenal things about SP and Spright in particular, is this interaction, which has actually come up multiple times for me. In the past, before SP Little Knight, you would always either go into Avermax or Nightmare Unicorn, so you'd always have to wait on starter. You could never, like, use it preemptively until, like, after you'd already used IP. But now that SP is a link to, it doesn't really matter if you get 2 locked anymore, so it's quite good. So here they didn't even wait for me to use the IP effect, but, I don't know, I was in an interesting position, right? So I did have the red. I could potentially hold the red, try to use the red effect by sacking the elf, which I've already activated, and then IP for SP later. I think if I didn't really know what was going on with my opponent's hand or the situation in general, I would have tried to do something like that. However, again, using that information we have, right? So their board was Sakitama, one of the Exos, 2 cards in hand. I know one of those 2 cards in hand is the VODS, right? Or that's the one that banishes, right? The one they just added. No, Returnia, yep. So I know one of those 2 cards is Returnia. So by going for SP here, to which my opponent immediately conceded the activation of IP, by going for SP on specifically the Exo monster, they're in a pretty tough spot where now the Sakitama is dead. It'll bounce itself during the end phase. The Returnia in hand is dead, and they only have 1 card left, which is probably not going to find them exactly what they need to, be able to come back here. So, especially through an SP second effect interaction, right? So, yeah, there we go. There's a game where we didn't open Synchro stuff, and we got hand trapped a lot, but we were still able to come out on top. We have one more game we're going to check out. Let's see that one. And our final game is actually going to be up against Tearlaments. So, very, very popular deck right now. It's actually kind of wild to me that Tearlaments is like almost the most popular deck in Master Duel. Which is a bit funny because I don't think a lot of people consider it to be the best deck in Master Duel. But again, when it comes to especially best of 1 ranked ladder, best and most played are not always going to correlate here. So I didn't Valor the Rhinoheart. I was saving it for Kiklos, which is usually what you want to do. But of course, if I had known they had the Emerald Tortoise in hand, I would have 100% Valored the Rhinoheart here. I think that was actually kind of a risky... Well, no, I don't know. It wasn't that risky. I understand what my opponent was going for here. In hindsight, I maybe could have used that information to help me a little bit. Because, like, that's the kind of thing I try to think about when my opponent's making weird plays, right? You know, not just asking, like... Why would you ever Foolish Rainbow Bridge and then not activate right away? You know, that's bad. But rather just really poising the question, okay, why would you Foolish Rainbow Bridge and then not activate? Like, what is the situation in which you would want to make Tearlaments plays first? And again, we see that situation is because they had the Emerald Tortoise in hand. So again, it's all about context clues when you're dueling, right? Paying attention to not only what your opponent's doing, but the order that they're doing it in can give you a lot of information about what exactly they've got going on there. So, very, very worth noting. It's not something I see a lot of people talk about, honestly, but it is very important. Alright, so no more hand traps here, so the Hero That's Here player is going to get to pretty much do whatever they want. Our hand isn't bad, though. If we can get, like, yeah, the grass here. They grass for 7, which was kind of interesting. I've seen builds kind of like this before, where they play grass even though they're not on like 60 cards. They might be on like 50 or something. Let's see, 13 plus... Hang on. Let me pause here. Okay, so one of those is an extra deck monster. It's Kiklos, right? So that's 13 plus 12, or 33. 33 plus 12. Yeah, this is a 45 card deck. Might be, or 45. It's a 51 card deck, I think, actually. But, yeah, I'm just gonna have to let them kind of make their plays here. Thankfully, they don't mill... Well, I guess they... No, never mind. I was gonna say they don't mill anything too crazy. But they hit Rhinoheart and Celiac. Oh, sorry, I feel the hiccups coming on. Oh. Yeah, I thought it was interesting they added Havness off the Perla Rhino and not the Shiren. I thought that was a little bit odd. And they actually end up using the Rhinohearts to go into Dweller here, which I don't think Dweller stops too much. It does stop the Cupid pitch, which does matter because that means we have one less body for our combo line. Oh, and Plague Spreader. That's the other big one for doing synchro plays. As far as Spright plays, I don't think Dweller does too much, but I think for synchro plays it does, so... Yeah, that second opening is not doing us any favors here, unfortunately. And I will say, this is one of those games where I'm kind of hurting for not playing a pure Spright deck. It's one of those situations where, like, it's not even because of anything that's in my hand in particular, although if I wasn't on synchro stuff, I'd have something other than Assault Synchron, of course. I do still try to go for synchro stuff anyway, but yeah, they got a meta noise here. But also, like, it's more of the extra deck, right? Because we have to devote 5 slots in our extra deck to these synchro monsters, it means I don't get to play stuff that would help me out here. Like, Zeus is a big one. I can't try to pivot into a Zeus from this situation. Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. Onibimaru Soul Sweeper into Zeus. Well, you wouldn't have enough attack points to battle over anything. But Onibimaru Soul Sweeper is another one. Mosquito. Shadow Mosquito is a very good Zeus pilot that I could maybe even OTK here with the Rokolos in this situation. Actually, yeah, wait, if I was on Mosquito, couldn't I go... Oh, but no, I would need one more monster. So I was going to say I could go Overlay Mosquito, Detach, Opening F, Pitch to Summon. I would still need one more monster. But I could still, like, Mosquito into Zeus or something, potentially, so... Yeah, I mean, well, I guess to be fair, they do also have a Shuffler in the yard, so that also stops me from, like, summoning from the graveyard as opposed to just Dweller, which stops effects in the graveyard. So actually, I don't think I'd really probably win either way here, but... yeah, I did kind of want to show this game anyway to kind of highlight that particular thing about this deck. And again, why I did, you know, I fully admit, as I said before, that pure Spright is almost assuredly just better than this, right? Like, I think that pure Spright does just end up being the stronger deck. But again, you know, even if we're not playing the most optimized or strongest build, that doesn't mean we can't have a little fun along the way, right? Playing a game for fun? The concept. So, okay. that is going to do it for this one. Thanks as always for watching. Let us move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.